Hi, Danville. Alan Shields here, Chief of Police, and we are 10-8 in service, which means we're here to make people's lives better. And we do that by safeguarding the lives, rights, and property of the people we serve. If I could get a little bit of help, I see there's some viewers on Facebook. Let me know how the sound is. Let me know if you can actually hear me. We're kind of operating through a new system, which is what's created some of the technical difficulties in getting up today. Appreciate you all waiting around. We've got a lot to cover. We've got 3 weeks of crime, and that'll take us a little bit to get through. We've also got the FEMA All Hazards Guide and have an update on that robbery case that happened. And so, and thank you for those, David. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me loud and clear. All right, so we're going to get moving here. This is a live show, so you can always ask questions live, and I'll take certain period breaks throughout the show, and I'll work to answer those questions live during the show. If I can't get to them live, go ahead and I'll get to them after the show. All right, so let's take a look. Go to the FEMA All Hazards checklist. There's a link in the description below. Just download it. I would suggest you print it out and keep it with your family. It's one of those things that you should have a printed copy of. One, to get you prepared and ready to go should something happen. Two, if something does happen, it's a great reference sheet. And if there's no power, you may not have access to anything else that can guide and direct you on what to do. We're highlighting power outages, and there's a lot of information in there right now. Also, sign up for a community warning system through our sheriff's office. There's a link in the description. It takes you less than 5 minutes to opt in to that system. And that's where we notify you if there's any hazards. In fact, we used it as a sheriff's office. We used it recently over in San Pablo. We had a prolonged police activity over there, and we did a shelter in place, and we used the community warning system, and we used Zonehaven, something we've mentioned on the show. But also download the Contra Costa Resident's Guide to Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation. This has got a lot of good information on how you can prepare yourself, your family, your pets, and how you can stay informed should a wildfire or some sort of a disaster take place. The other thing I want to mention is last night, the reason we didn't do this on Tuesday is you will never see the Danville Town Council hold their council meeting on the same night as an election. So every time there's an election, what you'll see the council do is they will push their council meeting one day forward, which pushed it from Tuesday to Wednesday. I'm always at least second, third, maybe fifth fiddle to the council. So that means that I push my duties to the following day, which is today. So I appreciate you all joining me. But what we were doing last night was I was actually presenting the annual report for the police department to the town council. We'll cover this in future episodes, but this is right on the chief's page. You can download this and check it out. This is like our report card. And one thing that I've added in here new that we haven't had in years past is a section specifically on, and I'll show this, but it's specifically on use of force and vehicle pursuits. In there, I'll give definitions as to, what is a use of force? What are the different types of uses of force? When can officers use force? And then finally, I'll actually cover the statistics. I'll tell you how many times we used force versus how many calls we responded to. In pursuits, I do the same thing. I just describe, what officers use when figuring out when to continue with a pursuit. And I think the statistics kind of show that we dispel some of the myths behind, all officers do is chase till the wheels fall off. So download that, but we will cover it in future episodes. Also, take a look at the PG&E website. A lot of good information in there. I know last time we had the power go out, it was pretty accurate for what they were providing. There is some good tips in there, and I think there's some information that you may want to check out. Our Citizens Academy is starting in a couple of weeks, and that'll be every Wednesday night right after this show. We'll jump upstairs, and it's a great way to meet officers. If you ever have questions, I know I don't do this, but if you jump into Nextdoor and you look, a lot of conversation back and forth and a lot of speculation as far as what's happening. This Citizens Academy will dispel a lot of the things that you see on Nextdoor and a lot of those conversations that can tend to run a little bit wild. And so we do encourage people to come in. I think we're up to about 20 or 25 people. So we have room for a few more, but if you're interested, we can add you to the wait list, and it never fails. One or two people will drop off before the class starts, and we always seem to make room for people. So we want to encourage people, please put in. It's a great opportunity. All right. So communitycrimemap.com. This is where you can go and download and view crime in your neighborhood. It's updated several times a day. You can get alerts direct to your email when you sign up. And you can also look at the sexual offender registry information. We're going to look at all the traffic accidents first. We're going to do them week by week. So it's not shocking to see, 12 collisions over a 3-week period of time. I want you to get an idea of what it looks like over a week. So the week, February 12th through the 18th, we had 3 total collisions, 2 injury and 1 hit and run. On the 12th, we had an injury collision on Camino Tasajara and Molitas Road. This was a single solo vehicle into an object. On the 15th, this injury collision was between 2 vehicles, and this was on Railroad and Hearts downtown. And the 15th was the hit and run collision where a vehicle struck another on the 800 block of Diablo Road and then fled. So that's interesting because most of the time I report on the hit and runs, I tell you it's a parked car or something similar, but this is one where they actually struck the car and then drove off. And so what we like to see in that is, one, don't chase the people. We want you to be a good witness, but we don't want you to get hurt. We all share the responsibility of public safety, but we're the ones you pay full time to go and chase folks down and use technology and use tactics and use those things that we can to identify people. The best thing you can do is be a good witness, get a good description of the car. If you can, get a picture. What I tell my kids and what I do is, if I'm involved in the accident, first thing I do is I make sure that it's safe. I don't want to jump out in the middle of the freeway and get hit by a car. So I make sure that it's safe. Once I'm out, I immediately start taking a couple pictures. I don't take 80 pictures right away, just one of their car, at least to get the license plate and of who the driver is. And then I start having my conversation about exchanging information. In this case, the driver did a good job of getting us some information so we can actually do some follow-up on. On the 19th through the 25th, I guess the stats on the right are wrong. We had 2 property damage or 2 non-injury collisions. The first was a non-injury collision on St. Helena Drive, and this was a vehicle into a parked car. And on the 22nd, we had a rear-end non-injury collision on Camino Tas at Tasajara Ranch Drive, and that was, again, between 2 vehicles. The 26th through March 3rd, so we had a few injury collisions and 2 property damage, no hit and runs this week. All right, so on the 27th, there was a non-injury collision between 2 vehicles on Camino Tas and Crow Canyon Road. On the 28th, there was a 3-vehicle non-injury collision on Camino Tas near Lawrence. That's the one all the way out east. And on the 28th, again, we had a vehicle versus a bicycle collision. This was in the parking lot of the Tasajara Crossings Shopping Center. And if you look, I'll see if I can make this work. But right there where the number 2 is, that's where that collision is. If you ever look on communitycrimemaps.com and you see a number 2, that simply means that there are 2 events with exactly the same address. So on the 28th, we also had that vehicle versus bicycle injury, and that was in the Tasajara Crossings. On the 29th, we had the solo vehicle collision into a tree, and this was on El Cap near Silverado Court. On the 1st, we had a vehicle versus a pedestrian on Railroad and West Prospect, and that was the downtown. And if you remember, the yellow icons are the injury collisions. The green icons are the non-injury collisions. All right, now let's take a look at crime. The crime for the week. So 12th through the 18th, not a great week. This is a robbery that we'll give an update on, occurred during that week. But on the 12th, we had a theft of a phone from a shopping cart on Marshall's. And this is something we've talked about from time to time. This is where property, a backpack, a purse, something, a bag is left in the cart, and the criminals will take your property out of there. We see it, I don't want to say all the time because crime is relatively low in Danville, but of the thefts that we see related to stores, that's one of the ones we see the most. We're starting to see more of that. And so I know that people are specifically targeting. Typically, you'll see people work in groups of 2 or sometimes maybe even 3, and they'll distract you and they'll work to get your wallet or purse. So we do make the recommendation, if you're going into the store, the best thing you can do is just take your phone, maybe your credit cards, put them in your pocket. It makes you appear to be less likely to be a victim. If you do have to bring your bag, make sure you keep it secure and on you. On the 12th, we had a package theft from Tamarind Lane, and it possibly occurred on the 8th. On the 12th, we had a report of a theft of cigarettes from Lucky's, and this one occurred way back on January 2nd at about 4:30 in the afternoon. On the 17th, there was a theft of property from Tamarind Lane. And I think that's actually the wrong address, but so Tamarind Lane, and this was property that was later used to vandalize the driveway, and that was 3:30 in the morning. On the 18th, there was a catalytic converter stolen from a parked car on Sycamore Circle, and it looks like it occurred the night before, sometime between 9 p.m. on the 17th and 11:30 on the 18th when it was reported. So the following week, this is not a good week. I know a couple weeks ago we talked about having a pretty large amount of crime, but this one's pretty close. And the fact that there's two violent crimes, one robbery and one aggravated assault, means that it's a pretty significant week in crime for Danville. On the 19th, we had a commercial burglary of a medical office on the 900 block of San Ramon Valley Boulevard. This one appeared to occur early in the morning of the 19th, between about 6:12 and 7:28 a.m. On the 19th, we had a residential burglary, and this is where property was taken from a home on Remington Loop. And this one, the time span's pretty large, so this one's going to be a little bit tougher for us to solve. This was between February 10th and February 19th. On the 22nd, we arrested a man for stealing a wallet from a lady shopping cart inside Costco. So in this case, very interesting, very alert victim. She was very alert and saw the crime take place, alerted Costco, and Costco did a great job. Costco is a great community partner. They are always reporting things to us, which that's the number one thing. We can't help and we won't devote resources if we don't know there's a problem. Costco is a great partner. They let us know. Costco also works with us. They've got great video surveillance, and they're constantly giving us the surveillance, and they're not making us wait. We'll go, believe it or not, we'll go to some businesses or large corporations and we'll ask them for video, and it may be a week before we get it. Costco, we get it very, very quickly. They are excellent partners when it comes to public safety. All right. And then on the 22nd, we had an armed robbery of a delivery truck driver. And this is the robbery, the delivery truck driver of the Chevron on Harts Avenue. And this was at 9:54 p.m. And I'll give a greater update on that later. On the 23rd, we had a theft of fuel. This was someone that siphoned fuel from two trucks. And this was on the 500 block of Bobby Drive. And the owner believed it occurred at about 3 a.m. On the 24th, we arrested a man for assaulting another with a blunt object, and this occurred up on Highland Drive at 7:30 p.m. that evening. On the 24th, we had a theft of property from an unlocked car on Vista Drive, and this one took place the night before, so sometime between 9 p.m. on the 23rd and 7 a.m. on the 24th. And then on the 25th, we had a report of a theft of merchandise from the BevMo, and this one occurred at about 1:12 in the afternoon. So on the week of the 26th through the 3rd, a lot less crime, only property crime, no violent crime, 3 thefts. On the 27th, we had a grand theft of merchandise from Smart and Final, and this one occurred at about 8:40 p.m. On the 27th, we also had a theft of a bike rack. So this was the actual rack, not a bicycle. And this was taken from a vehicle on Glen Valley Circle between 9:30 on the 26th and 7:50 a.m. the next morning on the 27th. On the March 1st, we had a theft of a phone from a person. And this actually occurred after they were involved in a traffic accident. And it was a theft from the person. Absent force or fear, this means it was a theft. It was not a robbery. And this one occurred at 8:06 p.m. over on Montecito Drive. Now, if you notice, I only listed 3 crimes, but there's like 5 icons on the map. So this is where sometimes some discrepancies can come into play. One of them was an auto burglary that was reclassified as a vandalism. Initially, it was reported that it was a burglary, which a burglary is enter into a structure or vehicle with the intent to commit a theft or any felony. In this case, once the officers went out there, they could not discover that any property was taken or that a felony had been committed. So in that case, it was classified as a vandalism and not a burglary because of the no theft. And then on the other one, this is kind of interesting, and believe it or not, it happens. The person reported their car stolen, and then within a few hours, they remembered that they never brought it home to their house. It was actually parked down by the Lunardi's parking lot, and so they just went and picked up their car. That actually happens. People mistakenly leave their cars. They have a good time, and they get back the next day, and they think their car's stolen. So that is it for the crime. I want to check the notes here. I'm seeing that Carol Preet is checking in. Carol, I don't know if your ears were burning, but we were just talking about you and Ashley today, as a matter of fact. Really interesting how you both came through the Citizens Academy and ended up both volunteering and working here at the police department. So hi, Carol. I hope all your travels are going really, really well. Sue says, good, recommends the Citizens Academy. I've been doing it for 10 years as an instructor, and I love every class. They're really fun. And it's a good chance for us to meet with all of you. It gives us a chance to explain what we do, but better than that, get feedback on what we can do to better serve the community. So Courtney, you are asking a good question, and I don't know the answer offhand. What happened to the lady who went up the wrong side of the road, avoiding the tree on Sycamore Valley? Courtney, do me a favor. Just send me the date and approximate time. I'll look it up and I'll answer it afterwards in the chat. Nathan says, can you put an extra patrol car at Monte Vista High School for illegal public garbage dumping at the school site? Okay, so we actually have an officer during the day that's actually stationed at Monte Vista, but I'm assuming that you're talking about this at night. Can you narrow it down, Nathan? Give me the times of what you see, and actually do this, Nathan. Do me a favor. How about I'll send you a direct message after the show. We'll talk because I'd like to get a little information as far as when you feel it is happening, where is it happening at? Because then what we can do is we can actually look maybe at our partner's camera at Monte Vista and see if we can't scope that out. But let's dig into that one a little bit more. But certainly that's something that we're going to attack. So David Holman says CA is awesome, and I thought he meant California, which I would agree with. I love the weather, the beach, the snow. I love everything. And then he corrects it and says the Citizens Academy, that is. So I would agree with that too. Both are awesome. All right, so let's take a look at our arrest log. And this one I've split up into two, so I didn't do it week by week. We usually don't have very many arrests. You'll see there's about 5 in each slide, so that means there's roughly 10 over the 3-week period of time. All right, so the arrest log. So on the 12th, we arrested a man who was booked in jail for DUI, and he was caught driving on Morning Home Road and Sycamore Valley Road. Another man on the 14th was arrested and booked in jail for a restraining order violation, and this occurred at a business on the 2600 block of Camino Sahara. On the 16th, the man was issued a citation, and he was released for DUI after he was seen driving under the influence near 680 and Sycamore Valley Road. Another man was booked on the 17th in jail for possession of stolen property, and this was from a business that was on the 3400 block of Camino Sahara. On the 21st, we released a man on a citation for driving under the influence on Ridgeland and San Ramon Valley Road. From the 23rd through the 3rd, on the 23rd, a man was booked in the jail on a misdemeanor hit and run on Doral and Silver Lake. He was also found to be driving under the influence as well. On the 24th, this was that assault with a deadly weapon up on Highland. So we arrested a man and booked him for hitting another man with a blunt object. On the 25th, a man was booked in the jail for DUI on the 100 block of Front Street. So he was driving drunk downtown. On the 1st, we issued a citation for DUI, and also after we found the person to have hit a retaining wall in a residential neighborhood on Dunhill Road. On the 2nd, we booked a man in jail for 2 outstanding warrants, and he was located on Diablo and Front Street. So a lot of activity. You can see most of it is alcohol related, not too great on the driving. So a lot there. So crime update. There was that robbery that happened at Chevron. Please understand, when we talk about releasing information to the public, one, it's required by law, right? We have to release information upon request, but there's a lot of exemptions to it that we have to hold information back so that we don't damage the investigation. So when I release information, what I'm trying to do is advocate and work on behalf of our victims while keeping the public informed. I don't ever want to damage a case and tell the victims that they can't be made whole or seek prosecution or restitution because I released information to the public. And so what I'll do is I'll give you a quick update. On the 22nd, this is when the robbery happened. So on Chevron, on Harts Avenue, so this is the one on the north end of downtown, 4 black men robbed the delivery driver of the merchandise, and there were bins of cigarettes that were taken. They fled prior to the officer's arrival, and our officers, and without getting into detail on the technical end of it, we have a lot of tools at our disposal to try to identify vehicles. Some of them you already know about, like automated license plate reader cameras, video cameras from stores, things like that. So right away, we're able to put together a lot of details, a lot of evidence to identify a lot of times the car and sometimes the people associated with the car. The reason I'm telling you that and the reason it's important is what we never do is we don't have cameras in your neighborhood. I don't have cameras pointing at your house. Our cameras are all at major intersections. In fact, one is right down the street from me at El Cerro and Lagonda Way. That's where it is. It's in a very, very public place. It's not meant to track individual people. It's just simply meant to encompass the downtown and make sure that we've got information to keep all of you safe. What helps is when our businesses have good cameras that view their business, when our residents have good cameras that view their own area. So maybe their driveway or the area in front of their home or their home itself. That usually provides the tipping point, or the entry point rather, for us to investigate and can trigger a very quick investigation. And when we have details up front, we're typically more likely to devote a lot of resources right away. And that's very, very important. All right. So officers were able to identify that suspect vehicle. We had been having our partner agencies all over the county, including Lafayette PD. And if you're not familiar, Lafayette is a contract police service model, as is Danville. So in other words, the officers that work at Lafayette are exactly the same as the officers that work in Danville. We're all sheriff's employees. And so we're really on the same page, probably more so than some of the others, but we work well with all our partner agencies within the county and frankly outside the county as well. But Lafayette PD officers located the vehicle for us. They pursued it into Concord. Ultimately, they arrested the driver for being a felon in possession of a gun, felon in possession of ammunition, and for having in his possession a high capacity magazine. The vehicle was impounded. And what we do with the vehicle is we process it and we look for additional evidence. It takes a lot of time and effort. I really do wish it was as easy as a 42-minute Law and Order episode to just wrap everything up, but it takes a lot of resources, a lot of time, and a lot of effort to dig up the evidence to solve these cases. So we're still investigating that one. That's what I have to release for now. Hopefully we can reach a resolution and get some closure on that case. All right. So Courtney, thanks. So March 1st, 4:30 and 5:30. Okay. And Courtney, was it reported to the police? I'm assuming that's why you're asking me for the update. If you could just put that in there, and what I'll do is after the end of the show, I'll look it up and we'll see. All right, so let me move on. So we're going to cover our FEMA all hazards checklist. Expect next week we're going to continue with that, but we're also going to go over our annual report as well. But let's get on to the FEMA all hazards checklist. So we're just taking them in alphabetical order. We covered active shooter last week. Believe it or not, I'm just going to skip avalanche. I think we can be fine that we're probably not going to have an avalanche here in Danville. So let's move on to cyber attack. So this is good information. I'm going to give it a really short overview. The goal is really to get you to just view it from a high level and then download this material for yourself and your family. What are some of the basic things you can do to protect yourself? Keep everything that you use from a software perspective up to date. Use strong passwords. Don't use your name. Don't use 123. Don't use common passwords. Really come up with really strong passwords. And if you can, in fact, I would suggest any of your software packages, any of your logins that offer two-factor authentication, I would use two-factor authentication. And really, that's really, really important. We still see people that are not using two-factor authentication, and that's not good. And then the Wi-Fi in your home, and I know you can go over the rest of this, but the Wi-Fi in your home, really make sure that's protected. If you don't know how to protect it, my suggestion is to find one of your friends or an IT consultant that can come and help you out because that's really important to keep you from being hacked. Again, how to stay safe when it happens. Again, the goal isn't for you to be able to view this, but really look at it and pause the video if you need to. But I really want you to download this guide and view it, and so that you can see all the information that you have in there. It really just talks about what you can do ahead of time to secure yourself, make yourself least likely to be a victim. And it really, a lot of the things you do ahead of time is a strong password, and it's building of barriers and walls that protect you from people that want to do you harm. And so what do you do when it's happening? So if you think that you're being victimized by someone who is hacking you, or someone that has done a phishing attempt, what we need you to do is immediately start disconnecting from the internet, start changing passwords. If it is a school computer or work computer, let your IT professionals know. And then all of your banks and credit cards, you want to make sure you're contacting them right away. So once it happens, how do you stay safe afterwards? Just make sure you report it. I'm not expecting you to report it to the Office of Inspector General, the FBI, and IC3. The best thing you can do is just call the police department and say, hey, I've been hacked and we've got some resources that we can give you. If you've been a victim of identity theft, we can help you there as well. But we really want to make sure that we're doing the preventative side. A lot of times, if you've been hacked, if you've had money taken, if you've been a victim of the fraud scam, the lottery, advanced fees scams, those sort of things, really, really hard to solve. We realize they are incredibly hard to solve, and many times you never get your property back. So if we're going to spend effort, we really are going to spend it on the front end and try to avoid being a victim altogether. All right, I'm going to check the chat and see if there's any. Okay, so Courtney, appreciate you giving me the update. The officer saw it but couldn't get to her because he was blocking traffic in the road and directing traffic. Saw him get on his radio, went through the red light, and went up the wrong side of the road towards Blackhawk. Okay, what I'll do is I'll check on that and I'll answer it in the chat. All right, so it looks like that is it. I'm going to go over some of the other things. We've got our Citizens Academy coming up. We really want to encourage people to join that. It starts March 27th. There still is room, so please sign up for that. Make sure you sign up for the community warning system through the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff. Download the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide. Make sure you jump on the PG&E website. There is some good information there. And of course, we're highlighting it right now, so please download that FEMA All Hazards Guide. It really is a wonderful guide and can give you a lot of good information that can help you and your family. That is all I have, Danville, and appreciate all of you joining us. Thank you and have a good night.